Here we go.
Tootsie!
Great Odin's Raven!
Well, it's big and terrible.
It doesn't seem physically possible.
It'll get you drunk.
Starting to smell a little like danger in here.
I can't take it anymore.
The whole childhood wonder stage just flew right past you, didn't it?
Hello, good morning, good evening, good night. You have once again entered the old oil house. Something special. Because neither Rob nor Stu is here. Are you not here either? No. Oh, okay. So, I'm by myself today. And I'm going to be discussing with myself the flight of dragons.
Flight of dragons.
With me today... With me today is a special guest. Would you like to announce and amuse yourself, special guest?
Hi there, I'm Steve Gibbon. I come for you courtesy of the Outcastaways podcast.
Yes. Where can we find such a splendid show?
Well, apparently they have this thing called the internet these days. I think the easiest way to find us is just to jump yourself on iTunes and search for Outcastaways.
Oh. Well, you could do that. You could also use some kind of, I don't know, web address maybe? Maybe even a forum, like other more successful podcasts.
Wouldn't that actually mean putting time in and developing a website?
Yeah, yes it does.
Rather than just using the default libsyn template.
Well, yeah, but on the other hand, shut up. So, we're going to be talking about Flight of Dragons, a 1982 animated movie produced by Jules Bass and Arthur Rankin Jr., which is based on two books, The Flight of Dragons by Peter Dickinson, a name that you should come to know by the end of this, and the novel The Dragon and George by Gordon R. Dixon, which isn't a very good book, I'm afraid. Not at all.
You've actually read it?
Yes.
Cool. I did have a look on Amazon in way of trying to do a bit of research for the show. I went to see if I could find ebook versions of either of those two, and I can't even find real world versions of the books.
I bought a hardback edition of The Flight of Dragons in January or February, and it set us back 30 quid. Harsh, but nice book. Really, really nice book. Dragon and George, however, I've never really cared about. I once read it out of the library, and that was about it. It was alright. Second book's better. The name escapes me. Because there is a full cycle of them, but the name escapes me. But anyhow, shall we get on with the film?
Yeah.
Right.
He's going to sit and watch it.
Yes. Look, you're not even going to get a commentary, listeners. You're just going to get us sitting here going, that was alright. So, we begin with a song. A song by Don McLean of American Pie fame. Would you like to give your opinion of this wonderful, wonderful piece of music?
The song is absolutely fantastic. The shares the same title as the film itself, Flight of Dragons.
It's just the fact that, as a kid, I loved this bit of music. The older I get and the more cynical I get, the fact that the song basically just gives you the entire plot, like all good 80s intros should do.
The hallmark of animation in the 80s was that the intro music, basically, if it doesn't explain the entire plot, it at least gives you the gist of who the characters are and what their special skills are.
Thundercats, why didn't you give us more information?
What do you mean? Thundercats told you everything you need to know. Thundercats are on the move.
Thundercats are loose.
Yeah.
But never once is it
Be the magic, feel the raw. Or was it the other way around?
I think you got it right.
Yeah.
But you never get the point where it goes, Mumra is an evil man, Thundercats are loose. Lino is a 12-year-old man, Thundercats are loose. Shitara is not a man, Thundercats are loose. You never got it. I mean, Pole Position gave you the full intro. Told you everything you needed to know.
What do you need to know about pole position? It's two guys in two cars and
Guy
they
and
somehow
girl.
solve crimes while driving the race.
Oh, that's Knight Rider, or Team Knight Rider. No, Knight Rider. You, like your parents were, are now secret agents of pole position. Pole position. Yeah. It tells you everything you need to know.
Pole position.
I think we've digressed quite far away from the point here. So, we begin with a swan and several fairies playing in a river. And then they get pulled under a gigantic mill wheel. Yes, I said that correctly. With the help from the strange-nosed wizard, Carolinus.
Yeah, what a hell of a nose that is. You'd be literally talking about a nose that stretches from the space between his two eyes right down to further past his chin, doesn't it, at some point?
I don't quite understand later on how he manages to drink out of a cup without drowning.
Yeah.
There is a moment where
when he takes a glass of milk and
where he gets cider, turns the cider into milk, and then drinks it.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how he gets his nose past the... He just... Oh.
One of many plot holes that we shall be discussing in this episode.
Plot holes.
Yeah.
This is far too fantastical for plot holes.
We shall be submitting them to moviemistakes.com. Carolinus drinks milk through his nose. Like literally right through it, not up the nostrils.
He just puts his nose into...
That's how he does it. He just dips his nose into the glass.
Aye. The fairies and the swan survive, but the strange-nosed Carolinus has some strong words for the people in the mill. Carolinus then has rocks thrown at him. So he calls on magic. A ball of blue magic to make the mill wheel disappear. Unfortunately, he's crap. He proceeds to do absolutely nothing. And the strange-nosed Carolinus walks off, insulted by the people in the mill.
Yeah, and I think really the point of that little intro bit is basically to serve as a guide of what the rest, what the content of the film is.
Yes.
I mean, it's about the conflict of scientific man, and the progression of science against the kind of wonderment of magic and superstition and the side of the world that we can't explain.
Yeah. But it's cynicism versus fantasy.
Yeah.
And cynicism seems to be winning out.
Yeah.
Which is quite a depressing thought. I demand more unicorns in my life.
Yeah.
I think Coronation Street would be much better with unicorns. But anyhow, this opening sequence is just displaying that magic is dying and man's transitioning to science. So, the strange-nosed Carol, I'm going to keep that name on him.
Strange-nosed Carolinus.
The strange-nosed Carolinus summons his magic brothers. Their first meeting in 4 centuries. Mounted on his house dragon, Gorbash. Brilliant name.
Gorbash. Fantastic.
Second best name in the film.
But it's a two-party name. It's Gore, which is always good, and it's Bash, which serves to make the gore even more violent.
Should we explain why he's called Gorbash, or should we come to that later on?
There's an explanation.
Oh, yes. The knight, who, I can't remember his name.
Oh, yes, of course.
Because he saves him, and he got...
yes.
He got gory.
It
and
was a bit
bashed up.
gory, and I did get bashed about a bit. Gorbash.
See, I want to talk about that knight, and how there's a couple of suspect moments with him. But we'll come to that later.
With young children.
It's the I vowed to fall in love with her at a later date.
with the 3-year-old girl.
Yep. But we'll come to that later. The meeting of the 4 magic brothers. This strange-nosed Carolinus travels to the Temple of All Antiquity to meet his brothers. The Golden Wizard, Lao Ti Zhao, the Blue Wizard, Solarius, and the Red Wizard, Omadon. One of these things is not like the others. They all have their own house dragons. The strange-nosed Carolinus has Gorbash. The painfully cliched golden wizard Lao Taozu has Shenzhou. The blue wizard Solarius has Lunarian. And the red wizard Omadon has Brea. They then proceed to explain that the world of magic is dying. To save it, they must join together to create...
I've got it working.
Oh, jeez.
Right, okay.
Completely lost where I was now.
You were talking about how the dragon never closes its eyes.
Not yet, I wasn't.
Alright.
Once we get to the bottom of this sequence, we're going to start talking about the dragon.
Sorry, that's the bit I'm waiting for, then I can jump in.
For Shenzhou. To save it, they must join together to create the last realm of magic, a protected place where magic will live on after humans stop believing in it. Omadon refuses to aid his brothers and vows to dominate humanity by infesting humans with greed in an attempt to stop magic's death by force. The only way to stop him is to take his red crown, source of all his dark power.
So hilariously overpronounced word crown as well.
Oh
don't
yeah,
forget.
I think we do need to go through quite a few bits of this entire sequence. The first one being the pink dragon. Now, I remember the first time that we watched this, the pair of us, and the pink dragon has a notable handicap where it seems to be completely and utterly unaware of anything that's going on around it, has a very docile look to his face, and apparently does not blink. And if memory serves me right, it was the section where we were talking about the other dragons throwing rocks at his head,
Yeah.
where it suddenly, the pink dragon snapped. Nothing changed, it's still sitting there with its docile face, but in its mind it's raging.
Yeah.
It's ready to kill.
Yeah. The problem with the pink dragon was its facial expression was permanently stuck, but inside it was crazy. It was basically a slave inside its own paralysed face. Or so goes my theory, anyway.
It's amazing how much backstory you can put to one singular, non-blinking head.
Yeah. He used to overthinking the simple things in life. Hurrah!
Screw all the Temple of all Antiquity and whatnot. I demand more story of the pink dragon. Good old Shenzhou. The other bit of this scene that I think we need to discuss is Omadon's little rant. The I will turn man against man. I have to admit, I find that sequence actually really creepy. The sequence where it's just showing you all the things he's going to do, which ends with the A-bomb being dropped.
That's right, yeah. Omadon's whole scheme is basically to, rather than hinder, is to encourage the development of man, I suppose.
Yeah.
He uses magic to help man's science progress way too far and make man greedy. It's kind of an apocalyptic take on what a lot of people's views, where we're headed anyway as a species, if you know what I mean. That, we're developing all this science and technology, and it's going to be the death of us, basically.
Yeah.
And like I say, the sequence ends with the big air-bomb mushroom cloud, supposedly signifying that we'll go that greedy with power and science and technology will eventually annihilate ourselves.
And just leaving Omadon standing there as the victor.
Yeah.
Well, he says it himself, I will find a way to make man mine.
Yeah.
And I do think that this entire sequence is bloody terrifying. Especially when I was a kid. Nowadays I just find it creepy, but I remember the first time I saw it. It's the section where you've got the two guys talking to each other, and you've got little imp things talking in their ears. And they go from being really friendly towards each other to just basically knife fighting each other in an alleyway. And then he finishes his rant with what I think could quite possibly be one of the lines of the film. This I swear, on this my red crown, source of all my dark power. Where he then glows, disappears, becomes a gigantic holographic style image of his red crown, shows it to all and sundry, and then vanishes.
By summoning all the dark powers, I will infest the spirit of man, so that he uses his science and logic to destroy himself. What havoc I will raise. Turn brother against brother. Greed and avarice shall prevail. And those who do not hear my words shall pay the price. I'll teach man to use his machines. I'll show him what distorted science can give birth to. I'll teach him to fly like a fairy. And I'll give the ultimate answer to all his science can ask. And the world will be free for my magic again.
Which is the general gist of that little
what you
speech
just
what he
said,
goes on
yeah.
with, yeah. I just wanted to actually get a little bit of the sequence in there, just to point out that I think the casting of the voice acting for Ramadan was absolutely bang on.
James L. Jones.
Yeah, that voice is just absolutely brilliant for that character.
Oh yeah, it's that deep, guttural.
Sort of raspy, evil voice.
Oh, it is.
By this red crown.
I find him scarier than I've ever found Darth Vader. By quite some way.
Yeah.
He is the second scariest character that James L. Jones has played. The first, of course, being the King from Coming to America. Hey, I wouldn't want to get in his bad side.
After this little sequence where Ormadon basically shouts down the other three wizards' plans of creating a magical paradise to basically escape the humans, as opposed to his plan of killing them off completely.
Genocide or escape?
Yeah, the wizards then decide that they need to pluck some poor little mortal from the real world and send him on some magical quest.
A fetch quest.
Yes, and in comes Peter Dickinson.
The actual author of The Flight of Dragons, the book. And to make it even better, Peter Dickinson is played by John Ritter. Now, if anybody doesn't know who John Ritter is, go find out. Nicest man in Hollywood. So, do you not find the guy that Peter's trying to hawk his stuff to be creepy in a very specialised way?
Right.
It's just there, behind his little counter, going, dragon books, dragon boards, you've got dragons on the brain. And he's got this weird way of moving. I don't know if it's an animation mistake or what, but he just creeps me out. I feel that if he ever came out from underneath that desk, he doesn't have a bottom half. It's just like a massive tentacles.
That would be the Japanese re-edit, wouldn't it?
Or something weird like a giant roller skate. It's just, something's not right with him.
Yeah, you're thinking of the anime crossover, Flight of Dragons versus Urotsuka Doji.
Yeah, Legend of the Dragon Womb.
Yeah. Flight of Tentacles.
We're moving away from this, and we're moving away from it now. So Peter gets transported back to medieval times, where he is asked to begin the fetch quest. However, before the journey begins, a magical mishap of epic proportions. I think the best way to describe this is fail.
Yeah. An epic fail. Basically,
Epic biblical proportions.
an epic magical fail basically causes Peter's body to get merged with that of Gorbash.
Gorbash, yeah.
So basically his brain, his mind becomes merged with Gorbash's body.
Yeah.
So our poor little weed from the 20th century suddenly finds himself to be a living, breathing dragon. Thus hilarity ensues.
I just like the idea of, we have 3 people to go on our quest. Oh no, Brayek's attacked. We have 2 people to go on our quest. And neither of them are a person. Marvellous. So, the Gorbash Peter now has to be taught on how to be a dragon by Smeargle, Gorbash's uncle, who was also a dragon. And he gets the knight we were speaking of, Sir Orrin Neville Smythe, who who I think we need to quickly discuss to get it over and done with. Otherwise, it's going to be hanging over the rest of the show like some kind of, dirty night, really.
Yeah, so basically, Neville Smythe is your typical. He's initially portrayed to be your typical, chivalrous knight of the medieval era. The old going on quests, fighting, slaying dragons, and that sort of thing. And he initially appears to be a man of character, but whether intentionally or just by poor script writing coupled with 21st century cynicism, we tend to find a little bit of a dark side to our secondary hero.
For he does actually say the magical words. I found that Coriolanus had adopted himself a magical daughter, and I vowed, an enchanting daughter.
Yes.
I vowed to fall in love with her. When she came of age, of course, it's that last section that does it for me. It's just, when she came of age, of course, as if he's just realised what he's just said is completely and utterly wrong by normal social standards.
Yeah, it's almost as if the voice actors were just ad-libbing the script. Do you think that's maybe something he added on during the initial voice recording? Because it wasn't in the original script and he was like, ugh.
It could well be. It does have that sort of sped up moment of, I vowed to fall in love with her. Once she came of age, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was a last minute addition.
It could well be, because
maybe he basically just rattled it off while he was recording the voice.
Yeah.
And then he just animated that bit. Do you see his voice move when he says that?
I can't remember.
Or has he got like a mug of meat in front of his mouth while he's talking?
It's the moustache. You don't need to see his mouth move. He's got that epic Tom Selleck moustache.
Yeah. While we're talking about like script issues and things like that, one thing I thought that's odd in the film is that at one point they make a point, strange little things, I'm sure it happens a few other times, but they make a point of how there's some kind of, what do they quote? What's like the Wizard's Rule Book or whatever it is, and for whatever reason they make a point that there can only be 3 people in a quest or something like that.
Yeah, 3 to start.
Basically, it's a very flimsy pretext to get more characters into the show.
Yeah,
into the film.
Yeah, they do mention that according to the ancient laws of antiquity or whatever it is,
a quest must have at least 3 people. No, isn't there a point where they say they can't continue because there's no longer 3 people?
Yes, that's why
Something like
Smeagol comes on, because it was originally going to be Sir Owen Neville Smythe, the Peter Dickinson and Gorbash.
Yeah.
And because Smeagol was old and was going to go off and do dirty things to female dragons, it's inferred he doesn't actually say
it. You just thought it up.
There is a bit where he just goes, I hear the mating call. And Coriolanus turns and goes, Smeagol, at your age. Okay, maybe inferred's the wrong word, but I think I'm just reading more into it as Smeagol, some kind of dragon pimp daddy, and going round.
Well, if we didn't read too much into 80s cartoons, you wouldn't even have a podcast.
Well, this is true. I wouldn't be able to say such wonderful things as, Spider-Man! Big little skullhead dude. Anyway, there's something I've just realised that we've actually missed out on. The fantastic moment in the meeting where the blue wizard and all the blue wizard and the yellow wizard start trying to say things to try and sort of get the quest going. So I will get Triton himself or whatever it is, and get so the giant whales shall join the quest, and just Coriolanus as calmly as he can be. It's very good, but this quest will be waged on land.
That's right.
It's like whoops. Yeah.
Basically rendering the other 2 wizards completely impotent.
Yep, they can't do a thing. So, moving on.
It would have been a better film, actually, if it had been done in sea.
Verbal
It could have been like a 90-minute film of like whales and dolphins going to seek out and destroy Omadon and the Dragon Breag, using science and logic. Spoiler alert.
Just this dolphin shouting algebra at him.
Yeah.
No, but I'm standing
The
there.
dragon head's going. You see, Homer doesn't believe in fish. You go against all magic.
The sun is the sun.
Wait, a dolphin isn't a fish, it's a mammal? No!
What kind of mythical animal is this? I think we're getting far too ahead of ourselves by spoiling the ending with the dolphins and explosions.
Which is why the Lord invented Audacity, wasn't it?
Oh, God. Right. Moving on. So anyone who plays the weekly drinking game, there's your first moving on of the show. So, you've got Sir Dirty Orin Neville Smythe and the Man-Dragon Gorbash and Smeargle. They go and they find themselves at a campsite where they are attacked by rodent-like creatures called sandmerks. They attack with a insanity-inducing cry here. The sandmerk attack. Once again, I remember this when I was very young. Bloody terrifying.
That's right, yeah. It's a really one of the many creepy scenes in the film, isn't it? When just to set the scene, our team of heroes are set in a little campfire, little situation in the middle of the woods, and Ormadon sends out the sandmerks to where these little creatures attack you is basically by making a noise so hideous that it melts your brain.
Yeah.
So while there's no actual action or violence, so to speak, of it, it's just the image of these people with these little chattering little rat-like creatures making this little chattering sound, and it's just the sort of detail when they're clutching the head like this, and then they really look like the heads are about to explode.
But they're all singing songs as well. You've got
Oh
no, Smeargle's asleep. He doesn't wake up.
Smeargle sleeps through the whole thing because he's deaf.
Gorbash is singing "I Came from Alabama with a banjo on my knee" in this weird sort of screaming style, and the knight Orin Neville Smythe is singing something, but you can only get words out of it because he's just screeching it.
Yeah.
With a cuckoo bird and a rose and
And then screaming it.
So the blue wizard Solarius manages to destroy the sandmerks by using a dead wolf. Am I incorrect with that sentence?
Yeah, basically, I forget what the wolf's name's called.
Arag.
But he basically he comes across this wolf that's died in the sea. So Solarius being the
Dragged to sea by a kraken.
That's the one. Was it a kraken?
Was it giant squid?
Giant squid.
Giant squid.
You're thinking of Pirates of the Caribbean too.
I hope not.
You can't get it out of your head.
No.
So basically, he comes across this drowned wolf for whatever reason. Being the wizard of the sea that he is, he can magically. He doesn't actually bring it back to life, does he? He says, "I'll let you live for this short period of time, and if you go and save my friends that are doing." Okay, that's the toast's ready. There he goes. So he basically,
I won't jam on that.
He basically turns out this wolf and blackmails him into helping his friends in exchange to be alive again.
Yeah.
Which is why this wolf is able to plough through the sandmerks because he's
nothing living.
He's dead.
Yeah, nothing living can handle the brain fire.
Yeah.
So Solarius just basically goes, "You're a zombie for the next half hour."
That's right. Yeah, it's a zombie dog.
It is.
That's what
he's
it is.
undead.
Yeah.
So he can kill the Sandmerk Queen, and then, as he says himself, he starts breathing the moment.
Yeah, the moment that
she's dead.
The line is the moment he died, then he started to breathe.
It's quite bizarre. So they travel on their fetch quest, and oh god, yes. He joins their quest, and Princess Melisande, back at the strange-nosed wizard Calarius? No. Carolinus, thank you. The name completely escaped me there. Is put into a deep sleep by the cries of the Sandmerks whilst using her newfound magical abilities to see the party.
You're right.
Basically,
she spends the entire film basically in like a feverish trance.
Yeah, watching them.
Yeah, and for some reason she gains the magical power to be able to see what's happening in the quest. Is that because Carolinus runs out of magic power?
It's something.
Because I'm sure he starts off watching it in his little crystal ball.
Yeah,
and then he starts like hammering it, doesn't he? And
yes.
then that's when he finds out that she can see them as well, or something very convoluted anyway.
But it does seem to add to the horror because she's watching it and you're getting her strange little voiceovers at times.
Yeah.
Especially the ogre attack, but we'll come to that shortly. Her voiceover managed to really hammer home the horror of the section. So the group carries on, and they are attacked by a hobbit, and some more hobbits, and yeah, they're hobbits. They call themselves elves, but they are hobbits. Giles of the Treetops is a hobbit. There is no other way around this. They're hobbits. They attack because they are mistakenly suspicious of the dragons, and they use flowers. Flowers in nets to make the dragons go to sleep.
Yeah. They basically drop special nets on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, they have these little flowers sort of woven into them, and
Yeah.
for some reason these magical flowers send dragons to sleep.
Mm-hmm. And then we get the... now, this is one character I think that the film quite could easily, if this character hadn't appeared in the film, there would be no major difference. The archer Danielle turns up and saves the group because she recognises Sir Orin. And then Giles and Danielle join the party for their magical fetch quest to go and throw Omadon into Mount Doom.
That's how I remember it.
There isn't really much to say about all this section because it's just, nothing much happens. We get 2 new characters joining the party. Giles is alright, I suppose. Danielle really does nothing apart from shimmer. Seems to be her entire point in this.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically just secondary heroes, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're there basically to die later.
To die later or scream annoyingly.
Yeah.
So, they find an inn, but in the night, and this is my favourite section of the entire film. During the night, an enormous ogre attacks the inn, destroying it, murdering the innkeeper, and kidnapping some of the party. Peter and Smeagol must rescue Sir Orin and Danielle from the castle. During the fight, Peter is overwhelmed, so Smeagol must intervene. In doing so, the older dragon kills the ogre of Gormley Keep by sacrificing himself. This entire sequence, from the very beginning of when it gets dark, you've got the Melisande doing the voiceover as was 2 mad eyes burn where 3 once were.
Is that what it is?
Something like...
Or is it 1 eye where 2 once were? I can't remember.
Fight with 2 mad eyes where 3 once were.
The
Told you.
ogre.
Okay, you win.
Yeah, the ogre of Gormley Keep. It's the fact that the thing murders the innkeeper. It's not just, oh no, he's being hurt. It's, he's dead. He's well and truly he ain't coming back. Would you like to help me find the rest of him?
I mean, for a kids' film, there's a lot of killing going on in this movie.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. You've got Bryak for a start.
Yeah, who just kills everything that looks at him funny.
Yeah. It's the pink dragon's the only thing that can stop Breya.
And he's trapped inside his own face.
He once lost his temper at Breya, and that's why Breya's now evil. Originally, Breya was just a small, timid little guy until the pink dragon snapped and beat him up. Now Breya wants revenge.
But the important thing is that the pink dragon's facial expression did not change at all during the whole beating.
Of course not. Even the point where he ripped out somebody's heart and fed it to them, his expression was still that of docile stupidity.
Same old wide-eyed look.
It's like saucers staring into the night. And then you have the fight between Smeagol and the ogre, which is fairly visceral, to be honest. It's quite nasty. And then Smeagol comes out with such wonderful little things, cheerful little lines like, "Something's bust inside me."
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, in the ogre fight, the fight's all basically large objects being thrown into various brick walls, I think, is the concept of the fight there.
It did give me my favourite attack ever. I'm beating the ground to death with you.
But yeah, at the end of the day, it's an excuse for, I can't remember his name.
Smeagol?
Smeagol to die.
Yeah. Not Smirnoff. Smeagol.
We call him Smirnoff.
Oh, we'll call him Smirnoff from now on.
Right.
He's dead now, so he's not turning back up.
Smirnoff Red.
Smirnoff Red versus the Ogre of Gormley Keep.
Yep.
Round 1. Fight. The survivors move on to Omadon's Red Realm. Nothing like Sauron's Black Lands at all.
Nothing.
No, not at all. There's no Lord of the Rings going on here. And they come across the Worm of Sligoth. Not Smirnoff. Now, I've just realised something. The worm. His face is the face of the shopkeeper.
Is it?
Yes. The worm and the shopkeeper from the beginning of the film have the same face.
That's right. It
No
is.
wonder this thing has been creeping me out for years.
Yeah.
No wonder the shopkeeper, I've always had this image of him having tentacles under there.
The
Because he's
shopkeeper
the
has an
worm.
enchanted worm face.
Yes. So, so if you look at this as like parallel dimensions, right?
Right.
The shopkeeper really does get it a bad shake at the stick here.
Yeah.
Peter's a dragon in this world. Shopkeeper's a worm. Poor Peter. So, they realise that the worm is in fact full of toxic nastiness, and they basically burn it.
Yeah, it's your typical Independence Day style UFO killing, where you wait for the opening and then fire straight into it.
Yeah.
Although the only difference is the UFO mothership is a worm and the firing is actual fire.
Independence Day would have been so much better that way.
It's your typical invincible bad guy situation, but with one...
The one chink, the Achilles
one
heel.
chink in the arm, the Achilles heel. Your typical Death Star situation.
So, I wish Star Wars would stop coming up in here. This is the third time we've mentioned something Star Wars related. It's not good. So, the Omadon is a little bit annoyed about the worm of Smirnoff being defeated and blowed up real good. So, he sends out a giant black hand of despair. They all become depressed. Until they use a magic shield given to them by Blue Wizard Slarius to defeat the spell. So then a flight of dragons attacks, and they use a magic flute to put all the dragons to sleep.
Yeah, this is kind of the bit where, right at the start of the film, the party gets given various sort of magical items that, as maybe the original intention of it was to give them some kind of point to use them throughout the film, and it seems that they got sort of 1 hour and 15 minutes into the film,
Realised,
like, oh shit, we forgot to do something with those items that they got given at the start, and they basically just get all used on the belt end.
Yeah. Quickly, despair, use shield. Dragons, use flute. Damn it, river dance, use shoes.
Wasn't there a sword in here somewhere as well?
Oh, more than likely. So yes, they use the flute to put the dragons to sleep, including Gorbash Peter.
That's right.
The magic flute, however, does not send Breya to sleep. And he decides the best thing to do at this point in time is kill Danielle, Arak and Giles. Not just a little bit either.
No, I mean he kills them good and proper.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, this isn't your typical like kids cartoon killing. I mean, when people get murdered in Flight of Dragons, I mean they're just dead.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing it's missing is blood and gore, really.
Yeah.
It's very much implied death.
Which is actually a weird thing, because I once had hold of a script, the uncut script of this.
Really?
And that script had various references to dismemberment and gore. So all the sections that we're seeing here of death, it was originally intended to be quite gory.
Excellent.
I very much doubt it was meant to be Japanese style heads exploding gore, but it was all stuff to say, yes, these people are dead, there's no coming back, rather than them being thrown about and just lying there.
Perhaps you were reading the script of the Japanese version, The Dragon of the North Star. For those of you that haven't actually seen that, The Fist of the North Star is the most head-exploding film you will ever see in your life.
Oh, I do think there isn't any other films that explode as many heads as... Now we're talking the film, but the series, though.
Well, I don't know, the whole franchise, I suppose. It's just a head-explode extravaganza.
Boom, headshot.
Yeah, your head explode.
We're digressing again.
Yeah.
Should we try and get back on point? The next guy. So, all three of them are fairly dead.
Yeah.
They're completely and utterly dead.
Yeah, what we're basically left with is, between dead characters and sleeping characters, we're left with Breyak and Sir Orin Neville Pedophile to have a standoff. And the long and short of it is that Sir Orin Neville Smythe has his little chivalrous moment and allows Brack to completely engulf him in fire before throwing his ignited sword into the heart of Brack, which then ignites him and kills him, but also kills Sir Orin Neville Smythe in the process.
Yeah, it's the heroic death.
Yeah, which basically then leaves us with your classic one bad guy left, one good guy left. Because what happens after this part is that we get revealed to us that although Gorbash body fell asleep, Sir Peter remained awake inside his body and then gets separated from it.
Whereas he says that Peter realised that two things cannot exist in the same place at the same time.
Yeah, and this is the part where the film actually starts to get very sciencey. In a not very scientific way, but the words sound big.
Yeah. He decides that to get victory, he needs to deny magic to destroy Omadon. Because if he's the only person there, and his belief is giving Omadon the power to be able to use magic, if he denies Omadon that power, Omadon cannot win.
That's right.
So, in a dramatic and heart-stopping way, Peter alphabetically lists as many branches of science as possible. Omadon, in a heart-stopping dramatic way, turns into a giant dragon thing with many heads, and then lists a list of foul creatures, harpies, demons, witches, etc., but cannot withstand the onslaught of science from Peter Dickinson. I would like to know your thoughts on this final battle of epic proportions.
It's a strange one, considering how sort of violent and crude the rest of it is. It's a strange way to have a final battle, because it's not your sort of typical big strong hero fighting the dirty underhanded bad guy. It's almost like a battle of wits.
Yeah.
It becomes... and it's strange, and it makes the main character come off as really sort of...
arsehole-ish?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, he's almost like staring death in the face. He's looking right at this demon wizard who was going to just, tear him limb from limb with his several dragon heads. And he sort of just gets out, cleans his glasses and says, "No, you don't scare me, because wizards don't exist. There's no such thing as magic." I mean, staring at that thing head to head, you've got to be very, very confident of yourself.
Yeah, there's
just
no,
to deny the existence of something that stood right in front of you and has managed to kill several people right in front of your face.
You would have to be completely and utterly sure, wouldn't you? You couldn't just go, "There's about 10% room for error." It's going to kill you if you're wrong. The listing of the various sciences manages to blow up Omadon's heads. So, more or less than Fist of the North Star, would you say? Lots of heads explode.
Yeah, what we got? 7 heads?
Yeah.
6 heads?
I think 7.
Including Omadon's head.
Including Omadon's
He
actual
sort of melts
head.
into dust, though.
Ah, true.
His head doesn't explode like all the others.
No, there's no head exploding on Omadon. I do find his new little arms quite pitiful.
Yeah, I do wonder why his body has to grow so big. Is all the dragon's bodies actually inside his cloak?
Yes. Yeah, this is why Omadon's angry. He takes off his clothes and that happens.
Yeah.
The death of Omadon allows the party to return to life, which wasn't in the script I was mentioning earlier on. The script that I was mentioning earlier on has Peter just turning around and starting to walk through the red lands by himself. But anyhow, Carolinus arrives. Sorry, the strange-nosed Carolinus arrives, along with the remaining 2 magic brothers, the blue one and the yellow one, and succeeds in creating the lost realm of magic, but concludes that because Peter denied magic, he cannot stay. He is beyond magic's reach. Princess Melisandre awakens from her evil death coma and informs them that Peter appeared to her and woke her with a kiss, as all good princes must do. So it's a nice little fairy story ending for her.
Yeah, I get the feeling that the guys at Warner Brothers wrote that bit in.
Yeah, going, "Please, this has got to have some kind of happy ending." Carolinus concludes that Peter's actions suggest he may still believe in some magic after all, which I do believe kind of ruins the point.
Apparently in the original script, the Princess Melisandre actually shat herself and then went into a 5-year coma and never woke up.
She went into a coma, and that's where the film starts again.
Yeah.
It's just this continuous cycle of inside her brain, and then at the end of like the 10th time of the film going through, it pans back out and it's all inside the pink dragon's head.
Did you ever watch some BBC, like one of these kids' adventure shows about someone that was in a coma?
No.
And they were sort of going on an adventure in their own head?
No.
Must find out what that is called and download every episode.
Yes.
It's just one of these bizarre kids' adventure film. I don't think it was BBC actually, it was maybe Channel 4, Sunday mornings or something like that. But the idea was it was this kid who was in hospital in a coma, and he was doing it like an adventure in some strange world, but it was all going on in the head. And I suppose the idea of it was that they couldn't wake up until they'd finished the quest that they were on. It was really cool.
That's twisted, and I have no idea what that is.
Right. That's my challenge for this next week, is to find out what that's called.
Yes, get to it. So, we return back to the 20th century, and Peter, in 20th century Boston, sells the shield given to him by Salarius.
Yeah, because of course this is what our hero's all about. He's like hawking expensive items.
He's found proof of a magical world. What does he do with this proof?
Hawks the evidence.
Sells it to the worm guy. Marvellous.
Sells it to the human worm.
Yeah. Billy the human worm. He then meets Melisande again, who is selling Ormodon's crown. Marvellous.
Yeah.
Just brilliant.
All these magical artifacts, proof of that there's more to the world than what we think of it, and they sell them to a pawn shop.
You want proof there's more to the world than what we see? They embrace in the shop as Carolinus, riding Gorbash, flies over the city waving farewell. If you've ever needed to have proof that there is more to this world than you see on a daily basis, between this and the never-ending story, you've got more proof than you'll ever need. Because both films end with people on a dragon flying over a city. I think that the ending could have been toned down a little bit. But anyhow, that's the end of the film. Is there anything else you'd like to add to it all?
Yeah, something which is probably relevant. And it's actually quite interesting about the film itself is that you mentioned at the start that it's based on actually two different books.
Yes, one is a pseudoscience book.
That's right. Yeah, basically the two books that it are based on is the Dragon and the Dragon and the George.
Yes.
The Dragon and the George basically served as the sort of the skeleton of the storyline in which the Flight of Dragons is based on. It's a fictional title with the same kind of idea as what the film. Yeah, as what the film is, and the other book, which shares the name of the cartoon itself, The Flight of Dragons, is as you say, it's like a sort of pseudo mock science book where the author basically attempts to explain if dragons were real. How could we scientifically explain how they work with the flying and the fire breathing? And the film basically takes both of those things. It's got the storyline itself, but at multiple points in the film, Peter attempts to explain to himself how all these magical things are actually happening. There's a little sequence where Smeargle and Gorbash are in the limestone gem mines. Yeah. And they get Smeargle's trying to explain to Gorbash how to be a dragon, and they basically go and get gemstones from a little dwarf mine, and they eat the gems and crunch the limestone up, and he does this little diagram on the side of the wall where he sort of explains, well, this causes this kind of chemical reaction, and hydrogen in the lungs causes us to breathe, and that sort of thing. And it's interesting how it takes electrical charge in the back of the throat or whatever it is.
You see, we got this great, like a honeycomb of bone and muscle inside us.
Compartments we can expand and contract. And when we expand, the hydrogen, dragon fire as it were, expands and makes us lighter than air, and up we go! I wonder why it comes out as fire.
Because we're dragons, and dragons breathe fire.
Yes, but what makes the ignition?
The Thor thimble, fool. Look in the roof of the mouth. Feel it with your tongue.
Yes, it feels like a thimble. Ow, ow! Electricity. The electricity ignites the hydrogen, hence the fiery breath. Dragon fire, dragon flight, it all makes perfect sense. Oh!
Ah, shut up and eat your limestone.
Yeah, so it's quite an interesting idea. You know, it takes parts of one book and then concepts from another and sort of blends them together into the film. It's, I mean, it's only really at the start of it, but
yeah. I mean, once you get the basic premise out the way of how dragons work, then they don't really keep coming back to it. No. What's also interesting is the fact that the art style is... The animation style of the cartoon is the same as the design style of the book. All the dragons have that big, sort of bulbous, heavy look to them.
Right.
They've all got this strange face. All the monsters have that weird... I don't know how to describe it. Unearthliness.
Yeah.
And it's the same in the book. They've all got this very weird look to them. And it's very original, and it stays in its own little genre for that, because nothing I've ever seen has ever come close to looking like that.
It's certainly got a unique animation and drawing
style. It's
very
grotesque in it.
Yeah, it is. Especially some of the evil characters are really sort of twisted and deformed creatures. Like, they didn't hold back in making them scary looking, really.
No. But not even just like the 3 mill workers.
Yeah,
all 3 of them.
All the older human characters are also very deformed. It's very sort of exaggerated.
Yeah.
You know, in the way that it's drawn. Like with Carolinus with his great big whopping nose. I know it's sort of stereotypical for the wizened old man to have, like, you know, the big ears and the bigger nose, and they basically just took that sort of thing to the extreme.
Super Jewed him. So
yeah.
That might get cut off. Anyhow.
The nose or the Duke, I meant.
One of the two. I'm not certain which. And I think with that we'll just do some final thoughts on it and then be done. I mean, I love this film, and as much as we have kind of taken the piss a little bit, it is one of my favourite films, and I do have to say it's possibly my favourite animated film of all time. Nothing, I don't think, ever comes close to it. It is just wonderful. So,
yeah, it's your typical underrated film, really, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
You know, it was like I say, it's probably a masterpiece, really, especially for what it's essentially supposed to be a kids' animated film. It has appeal to anybody, really, especially in today's Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter 3.5-hour movie world.
I do find it criminal that this thing has not had a proper DVD release.
Yeah, I mean, the only
Especially
DVD release it's had is on that Warner Brothers archive over in America.
Yeah.
And my understanding is it's basically nothing more than a VHS transfer.
Yeah, exactly.
It does actually state on the website it hasn't been remastered in anywhere.
No.
Which is unfortunate, but it's probably if you want a good quality copy of it, it's probably going to be your only bet. And the only one I've got is off a beat up old VHS tape that I got a few years ago and digitised.
Yeah, that's right.
Complete with, you know, like half an inch of fuzz at the bottom of the screen all the way through it.
Hi. Oh, which I think I actually bought at a second-hand shop in about 2002. So, which is quite depressing. So yeah, I think we'll just draw this one to a close then, and I might go out with a cattle prod now and make people sing the song for me, for my own personal amusement. Yeah. Alright then. Well, with that, is there anything you'd like to pimp out?
No, I just want to take us out with a nice bit of music.
Alright then. This is Grufflock saying goodbye. Bye bye.
Between the waning age.
Oh yeah, and if you're ever on iTunes, don't forget to search for the Outcastaways.
Flight of dragon, soar in the purple light, in the sky, or in my mind. Fly